Hi, here we go. We're going to read A Good Kind of Trouble. We're getting towards the end of the book, and things are picking up for Shayla. We're going to be reading chapters 56, 57, and 58, and we're going to be taking a look at some quotes that stand out and represent the theme that's happening in those chapters. This book is written by Lisa Moore Ramey. Lonely Island. When I see Tyler in shop, I shove the armband I made for Julia into his sweaty hand. Here, I say. Thanks, Shayla, he says, giving me a big, cheesy grin. You don't have to sound so surprised, I say. But then I see Yolanda looking at me, and I add, you're welcome. By the time I get to track practice, I'm in one of those moods where everything just feels wrong. Angie has on an armband, which should make me happy, but she gives armbands to the other girls she runs the relay race with, and none of them even look my way. It's like they're all united, and I'm on Lonely Island. I'm completely unzipped. And it sure doesn't help when Coach West makes me and some other girls practice passing the stick with the relay team. It's good for you all to know how to do this, she says. It can be tricky getting the coordination right. Coach West wasn't lying, because I drop the stupid stick almost every time someone tries to pass it to me. And Natalie sighs each and every time. When Mama picks me up, she asks me how the day went. Fine. I'm not sure if I should tell her about Bernard. If there's one thing Mama hates, it's me and Hannah getting in trouble at school. Even though I wasn't the one in trouble, I don't think she'd like that I was even close to it. How are you feeling about wearing your armband? I don't answer right away, because I don't have a good answer. Yesterday it felt great, but Julia's comment about not being really black still bugs me. And Principal Trask making it seem like Bernard's armband had something to do with the situation with Alex was pretty awful. Then Angie giving armbands to the relay team like it didn't have anything to do with me, that hurt. I don't know, I finally say. Are you going to keep wearing it? Her question surprises me because I hadn't considered not wearing it. I curl the tail between my fingers. Maybe it's not changing anything, but I like wearing it. And I like saying something, even if I'm saying it quietly. I guess so. I wish that decision would make me feel better, but it doesn't. When I get home, the first thing I write in my eyeball journal is, life stinks. And then I write lots more. Miss Jacobs said when we turn in our journals, we can paper clip together any pages we don't want her to read. I will probably have to clip these. I'm not talking to Miss Jacobs about Julia and how I'm not even sure if we're friends, or about how I feel connected yesterday but not today, or how wearing an armband was supposed to be a special thing, and now I'm not sure. I'm really talking to myself. I can't talk to Isabella because friends don't talk about other friends behind their backs. I can't talk to Hannah because she will tell me I should have been hanging out with my own in the first place. And Mama would remind me how there is dirty water in Flint, and starving babies in Sudan, and missing girls in Nigeria, and boys getting shot, and those are real problems. My journal doesn't argue or tell me to be more understanding. It just listens. Now, I wish I hadn't been so scared of Bernard, but it's not like you get to choose what's going to freak you out, right? And if you're never afraid, then how do you know when you're brave? So if you can remember back to the last video, what she's talking about is Bernard stepping up for Alex. Some boys were about to put him in a trash can, and Coach West steps in, and Principal Trask was just about to suspend Bernard, thinking that it was all his fault. But Shay stands up for Bernard, and so does Coach West. And now she's in shop class, and she gives Tyler the armband that Julia refused to take because she felt like, well, I'm not black, so I can't wear the black armband to support Black Lives Matter. And the quote I took out is in reference to the track team, who's now wearing the black armband, sort of Shayla's thing. She started it at school. Now it's starting to spread, or like you like to say, go viral. And she feels it's like they are all united and I'm on Lonely Island. Meaning an island is something that's surrounded by water, like Hawaii or Japan. And that's what Shayla feels like. She feels like she's standing all alone on an island with no support. That's not a very good feeling. The next chapter is Everyone Hates Us. There's a knock on my door and I call out, "Come in." I'm surprised to see Daddy standing there. He hardly ever comes into my room. "Mama's been calling you to come to the table. Haven't you heard her?" "Sorry," I say. "I was just really into my homework." I close my observation journal. "I hear you added a little bit to your wardrobe yesterday." He eyes my armband, and I can't tell if he's happy about it. "Yeah, I wanted to do something. Show the trial wasn't fair." "Following in Hannah's footsteps, huh?" He smiles at me. I know Daddy is teasing me because he knows me and Hannah both don't like being compared to each other. But I think I hear some pride in his voice too, and that makes me feel all warm inside. I guess so, kind of. Daddy takes a few steps into my room and runs his hand over his hair. He's starting to get 1 or 2 gray hairs, and sometimes he tells Mama she shouldn't pluck them out for him. "Shayla, I'm proud of what you're doing. It takes courage to stand up for something, especially at your age." "Daddy, why do you think that jury said the police officer wasn't guilty? Everybody knows she shot him. Everybody saw the video." "Why do I get pulled over just because I drive a nice car? Why does Mr. McDonald keep a closer eye on black folks when they come into his store? Why is it that every time I'm not sure what Daddy was about to say because he cuts himself off. "Look, Shayla, life isn't fair. You're old enough to understand that. And I don't mean just for black folks. Lots of people aren't treated the way they should be." Daddy pauses and he looks around the room like he's trying to find what he wants to say hidden somewhere. "It's just sometimes it sure seems like black folks get way too much of a helping of that unfair pie." I can feel my eyes filling up with tears. "Everyone hates us," I whisper. "No, Shay, that's not what I'm saying. I know it's hard. All of it is hard. But don't start thinking that." He spreads his arms wide as an ocean, and I rush right in. But as he holds me, I can't stop wondering, just what am I supposed to think? So this is a real coming of age moment for Shayla. It's really occurring to her that life isn't perfect, and if she just does what she's supposed to do, everything's going to work out for her. If she just stops herself from getting in trouble or ever speaking her mind, people will just let her go about her business. And the quote that I pulled out of this chapter is one that Dad says to her that I actually just finished reading. Shay says, "Everyone hates us." I whisper, "No, Shay, that's not what I'm saying. I know it's hard. All of this is hard. But don't start thinking that. Dad doesn't want her to become discouraged because the worst thing in life you can do is view yourself as a victim. That's not going to be helpful. You have to stand up and you have to do what you need to do to get yourself ahead and to be successful. And that's what her dad is saying to her is, understand all these things are happening in the world, but they don't have to stop you from speaking up and doing what's right. And Shayla wearing the armband into school is her very quiet way of trying to let everyone in her school know that she doesn't agree with the verdict that happened in the trial and that she supports the Black Lives Matter movement. So now we're going to move on to chapter 58, Divided Nations. I think you can understand this chapter's probably going to be talking about how she feels, all right? That things have become really divided between her and mostly her friend Julia. On Monday in science, I give Bernard an armband. He deserves to have a real one. Remember, Bernard was just wearing a dirty black sock as an armband. He was one of the first ones to jump on to the wearing the armband at school. That was cool how you stood up for me and all, he says. I didn't do anything, I say. But you did. You didn't let those guys hassle Alex. He shakes his head. Makes me mad when folks start messing with Alex. I had to pop that dude. Alex is my friend. He is? I don't know why I'm so surprised. Of course Bernard has friends. Yeah, we get together and practice our rhymes, Bernard says. That's cool, I say, feeling like a complete jerk. Bernard frowns, and it's the same frown I remember from elementary school, but it doesn't scare me anymore. It sort of makes him look strong and tough, but a good tough. If it hadn't been for you and Coach West, I think Principal Trask would have had me suspended. He ties on the armband. Thanks. Black lives, I say. Bernard gives me a hug that feels like he's crushing every rib I have. But I laugh anyway. You better sit down, I say. In second period, this is one of those days when Mr. Powell lets the class out early before break. Well, he lets everyone leave but me. Just a minute, Shayla, he says. I want to talk to you. My hands start itching immediately. A teacher wanting to talk to you after class is never a good thing. I wonder if it's about our last history test. I thought I had gotten most of the questions right, but you never know. I had some of the questions and they were tricky. Shayla, I've noticed students wearing these armbands, he says, pointing at my arm. They're for Black Lives Matter, right? Mr. Powell doesn't say black students, but that's probably what he means. This morning before school, and going from first to second period, I saw them, armbands. Even though it's probably because Angie started wearing one, I still think it's pretty cool that it's not just me wearing one. Yeah, I say, I think there's probably more I should say, but I'm hoping that the armband will do the talking for me. Mr. Powell nods and plays with the edge of his scarf. It's the one Coach West got for him, bright purple. I thought so. I heard some grumbling that it's not appropriate for students to make political statements at school. What do you think about that? My hand starts itching. Are people saying we can't wear them? No, I haven't heard anyone say that. People can get scared with anything that challenges the status quo. But standing up for what you believe in is important. I just wanted you to be prepared in case someone says something to you. I feel like Mr. Powell is trying to warn me, but I'm not sure about what. And before I can work my courage up to ask him, the bell rings. Thank you, Shayla, he says. Go ahead and get to break. I grab my books and I head out into the hallway. It's already packed with people, and instead of pushing my way through the crowd like I normally do, I sort of just let it carry me along. like I'm a piece of driftwood caught in a current. Last night, there was another huge protest about the verdict. Hannah told me about it. She said protesters stood outside the house of the police officer who got off. They wouldn't leave, and a bunch of people were arrested. Even one of Hannah's friends got arrested, but he got let go a few hours later. What that jury decided was wrong. You can't be afraid of someone just because they're black. You can't just shoot someone just because they're black. But the protests scare me. When I get to our break spot, I'm glad to see Isabella is wearing her armband again today. We fist pump each other. Guess what? Isabella squeals, clasping her hands together. My mom said I could get a kitten. You're so lucky, I said, feeling a flash of jealousy. But it's just a camera flash. A second that goes away as fast as it came. I can't wait to play with him. Maybe I can come over this weekend. It feels so weird to say I and not we. Isabella snatches one of my carrots, leans back on her elbows. She smiles up at the sun, totally. Neither of us says anything about Julia not showing up. After English, I slowly make my way to my locker to get my lunch. I want to give Julia plenty of time to get to our table first. I spin the little dial in full jewelry thief mode, and I get a little thrill when I pop the locker open. I'm so ready for a life of crime. I get out my lunch, push my locker closed, then I lean against it for a minute, watching everyone hustle by. After a few minutes, the hallway's empty. I push off my locker and I head outside. Isabella is at our table, but Julia isn't. Isabella glances over at another table, and I follow her gaze, knowing what I'll see. Julia sitting 3 tables over with her other friends. Isabella's eyes go wide, and she opens up her mouth to say something, but instead she shoves a big handful of grapes into her mouth. I sit across from Isabella, and I slowly take out my lunch. This feels different, and different bad, because she's right there making a choice. The Pacific Ocean is between us, the Sahara Desert. We are not the United Nations. We are the divided nations. And there's nothing cute about that nickname. I wonder if she's sitting over there because of the armbands. I sure hope not. Isabella swallows. We should say something, right? What should we say? I ask. Julia looks over and smiles. Maybe to say, see, everything's cool. Everything is not cool, but I try my best to smile back. I glance at Isabella and she doesn't smile. She bites off a hangnail and she spits it on the ground. I try my best to think this is no big deal. I guess Isabella and I could go over there, but we are in our lunch spot. It doesn't seem like we should have to chase Julia down so that we can all stick together. When lunch is almost over, Julia comes to the table. All my friends want an armband. She doesn't say she's sorry for not sitting with us. She doesn't look sorry. And I sure don't like the way she said all my friends. Whatever, Julia. Julia doesn't get the hint. Stacy says us all wearing them, it's going to be lit. I don't have enough material to make armbands for all of them, I say. Julia stares at me for a second. You wanted me to wear one, now you don't? Isabella rubs the fabric of her armband. You guys could probably make them. She shrugs like it's no big deal if they do or they don't. But she kicks me under the table. I kick Isabella back and I glare at her. I don't want her helping them. I want her to be mad at Julia with me. Okay, coolio, Julia says. She sounds like a big phony. It's not supposed to be a fun thing, I say pointedly. It means something. I know, Julia says, and she raises an eyebrow at me. Don't get twisted, Shay. I'm not twisting anything. I crumple up my lunch bag, even though it still has an orange in there. I get up and I shove the bag in the trash. Forget it, she says to my back. We'll make our own. Great, I say. A whole bunch of people suddenly run by, shouting, Fight! Fight! Let's go see, Julia says, right as the bell rings. A fight means trouble. So when Julia follows the group going left, I head right. Well, this is quite an interesting chapter, and one that we should really talk about what Julia is doing here. She's wanting to get armbands from Shay when she didn't want them yesterday. And what's the reason? Just to feel like she's being cool. Just to feel like she's doing something trendy. Because Angie and the track team girls are wearing it, everybody is starting to wear it. Some people are more than likely wearing it for the right reason, because they're doing a silent protest against what has happened to the verdict that it came in that the police officer is not guilty. But that's not why Julia and her friends want to wear them. Here's the quote right here. Stacy said, us all wearing them will be lit. This word here is a word when you say something is lit, it's another way of saying that something is cool. So I want you to think about that and think about what it means to really support equity and really support a movement, or you're just signaling to everyone that you're being supportive and really you're not really taking any actions or doing anything to make things better. And that was really what we were talking about in class when we were mentioning all the hate crimes that are happening against Asian people right now down in Georgia. We talked about possibly approaching some of the clubs and getting some bracelets made where we can put on there Asian isn't a virus. And we're thinking about that. Maybe we can continue that conversation when we're back in school next week and reach out to some people and see if we might be able to get that started. So it's interesting how the current events that we're having right now are actually coordinating with this book. I hope you understood all of those 3 chapters.